Our story kicks off in the wild, beautiful plains of South Africa, where we see a mama cheetah lovingly taking care of her cub. But that peaceful moment is shattered by a strange sound, a lion's roar getting closer. In a desperate move to protect her baby, the mama cheetah bolts, trying to lead the lion away from her cub. The lion gives chase, but the cheetah is just too fast and agile for him. Just when she thinks she's safe, a lioness ambushes her out of nowhere. The lion joins in, and tragically, the fight ends with the mama cheetah's death. Her cub, who we'll soon know as Duma, watches the whole horrifying thing happen. Heartbroken and alone, he wanders away from the plains, and by nightfall, he finds himself on the side of a highway.
That's where a young boy named Zan and his dad Peter spot him from their car. They pull over right away and find the scared little guy. Realizing he's a baby cheetah, they decide to take him in and save him. They head to a nearby diner, and in a brilliant move, Peter uses a salt shaker and some plastic flowers to rig up a makeshift baby bottle. He fills it with milk for Zan to feed the little cheetah. Zan's eyes light up as he starts excitedly telling his dad all about cheetahs, how they're the fastest animals on Earth, nicknamed the hunting leopard, and can hit speeds over 60 miles per hour in just a few seconds. Peter sees how much his son is already bonded with the cub and decides to let him keep it, so they take the cheetah home. As soon as they get there, Zan runs to his mom, Kristen, to tell her they brought home a baby cheetah. Kristen is thrilled when she sees the cub and is totally fine with raising him, especially since they live on a huge farm with plenty of other animals and birds. Zan names the little cheetah Duma, and they become best friends. Zan takes such good care of him that he even lets Duma sleep in his bed. As time goes on, Duma gets used to farm life, roaming around freely and discovering new things every day. It's clear that Peter has grown to love Duma too, often carrying him around while he works on the farm. After a few months, Duma is much bigger and seems totally happy with his new life with Zan and his family. Zan is happier than ever, spending all his time playing with his loyal friend Duma. Meanwhile, Peter teaches Zan how to ride a motorcycle. Then, they decide to test out Duma's incredible speed. Peter floors it on the motorcycle, and Duma starts running alongside them. But in just a few seconds, he easily overtakes them, with Zan laughing and recording the whole thing on his camera. But when they get back to the farm, Peter sits Zan down for a tough conversation. He tells him that Duma has grown up and is a wild animal now, and he has to go back to the wild. Zan argues, saying Duma is happy with them, but his dad explains that no matter how tame he seems, his predator instincts will always be there. Peter explains that keeping Duma could be dangerous for them in the future, and the best thing for him is to return to his natural habitat to live like other cheetahs. Heartbroken, Zan finally agrees with his dad, knowing there's no other choice. Peter pulls out a map and points to the spot where they first found Duma. He tells Zan the journey to take him back will be long, but he promises it'll be a fun adventure filled with amazing scenery and fishing in the river. They agree to leave the next day, but that night, Zan wakes up to the sound of an ambulance outside. He runs to his mom, and she gives him the devastating news. His dad got sick suddenly and passed away. The next day, Zan stands at his father's grave completely heartbroken. When they get home, his mom, Kristen, tells him her difficult decision. She has to lease the farm, and they're moving to the city to live with his Aunt Jane. Zan anxiously asks what will happen to Duma, and she tells him she's sending him to a wildlife preserve. Zan gets furious, yelling that his dad never would have wanted that. He's so angry he storms off and jumps into the swimming pool. Kristen jumps in after him and tries to calm him down, explaining that it's just the two of them now, and they can't handle all the responsibilities his dad used to. Feeling helpless, Zan has to agree. A few days later, they move to the city, arriving at Aunt Jane's house with Duma. Kristen reassures her sister that people from the preserve are coming to get Duma in 2 days. Later, Kristen drops Zan off at his new school and tells him to try to make some new friends. But while she's gone, Duma starts exploring the house and accidentally hits a button on the TV remote. The sudden noise freaks him out, and he runs towards Jane, leaping onto the table in front of her. Jane screams and runs out of the house. At that moment, Duma runs out into the street and tries to follow Kristen's car, but he gets to the school before she does.
Zan is in class when he's shocked to see Duma through the window. Scared someone will see him, Zan tries to leave the classroom, but his teacher won't let him go. Suddenly, Duma runs into the school, causing total chaos. The students hear screaming and rush out to see what's happening. Zan runs out with them, looking for his friend. He sees Duma heading for the bathroom and follows him, only to find 3 of his classmates trying to bully and hit him. Just then, Duma appears, and the bullies get terrified and run away. The police show up and are about to shoot Duma, but he takes off, with Zan running right behind him. His mom sees him and screams his name, but Zan doesn't listen and keeps chasing his friend. Right then and there, Zan decides he's going to fulfill his father's wish himself and take Duma back to the wild. We next see Zan riding his dad's motorcycle with Duma, heading out into the wilderness. When Kristen gets back to the farm looking for her son, she finds a note from him saying he's taking Duma back to the jungle. Zan starts a long journey across a vast desert. After a full day of riding, the motorcycle runs out of gas and stops. Zan decides to push the bike until he finds the wreckage of an old airplane where he and Duma take shelter. Exhausted, he falls asleep while Duma stays awake, watching over him. The next morning, Zan wakes up to the sound of a man trying to steal the bike. Zan asks who he is, and the man introduces himself as Rip. Rip says he's heading south. Zan tells him that he and his friend Duma are heading west. Rip is confused and asks if someone else is with him, and Zan says, yeah, he's traveling with his friend. The second Duma appears, Rip freaks out and grabs his knife to defend himself. Zan notices how scared Rip is and asks if he has any water because he's really thirsty. Rip gives him a bottle and both Zan and Duma have a drink. Then Rip asks if the bike works and Zan tells him it's out of gas. They sit down to figure out a way out of this mess. By chance, Zan finds a parachute in the wrecked plane and a brilliant idea pops into his head. That evening, Zan gets to work on his idea. He gathers wood, builds an extension for the motorcycle, and tells Rip he's going to attach the parachute to it to act like a sail and let the wind push them. Rip is amazed and asks, "Who taught you all this?" Zan replies, "My dad." The next day, they use the strong wind to their advantage, and the makeshift sail bike carries them a long way without any effort. They keep going until they reach a high hill, where they decide to leave the bike and continue on foot. Zan gets thirsty again, so Rip digs into the dry ground until he hits groundwater, and they all have a drink. As they're walking, Zan spots a huge ostrich. Duma tries to hunt it, chasing it at top speed, but he can't catch it. He does, however, manage to find its nest of eggs. That's when Rip asks Zan about his story with Duma. Zan tells him everything, how he and his dad found him on the road, how he grew up with them, and about his dad's death and his promise to return Duma to his home. Rip is surprised by the story and tells Zan that Duma has lost a lot of his hunting skills and won't survive in the wild. He then suggests selling Duma to rich people who pay big money for exotic predators. Zan completely refuses, insisting that Duma is his friend and he could never sell him. Rip tries to convince him that the jungle he's heading to is dangerous and full of fierce animals and that he could die. But Zan stands his ground, declaring he's willing to risk his life to get his friend back where he belongs. Rip is impressed by Zan's courage and decides to go with him to the jungle before heading back on his own way. The next day, as they're walking through the desert, Zan sneaks a look at Rip's compass and discovers they're heading south, not west like Rip claimed. Zan realizes Rip is tricking him and decides to play along until he can find a chance to escape. They pass through the ruins of an old town, and Rip explains that it used to be a bustling place where people came to mine for gold and diamonds. Suddenly, a helicopter appears. Rip gets scared and pulls Zan and Duma into hiding, claiming the people in it are bad guys who might kill them. But the truth is, it's his mom, Kristen, in the helicopter, searching for him to bring him back before he reaches the dangerous jungle alone. Sadly, she doesn't find him and leaves, disappointed. The three continue their journey until they reach a cave. Rip decides to go inside to look for gold or diamonds and tells Zan to wait outside. As soon as Rip is inside, Zan grabs his chance, takes Duma, and runs. But then he hears a loud rock slide coming from the cave. Worried about Rip, he rushes back to help. He finds Rip buried under sand after part of the cave's ceiling collapsed on him. Zan starts digging and manages to free the top half of his body. Then, Zan stops. Rip, confused, asks him why he stopped digging. Zan tells him he knows Rip was tricking him the whole time and was planning to sell Duma in the city. He tells Rip he can save himself, takes Rip's spear, and leaves. Zan and Duma continue through the mountains until they reach a river. Zan cuts up his backpack and ties it to some tree branches to make a small raft, and he and Duma set sail. But he's so tired that he falls asleep, not realizing the river is full of crocodiles, while Duma stays awake guarding him. Suddenly, Zan wakes up to the violent sound of rushing water and realizes the current is pulling them towards a massive waterfall. He tries to paddle away but can't, and they both fall into the river. Crocodiles attack them, but Zan uses the spear to scare them off, and they manage to get to shore. As they cross through some fields, they run into a herd of wild buffalo. Duma smartly runs ahead of the herd to draw their attention away from Zan. Duma makes it to the jungle, but as he's walking, he gets caught in a trap. Meanwhile, Zan searches for him until it gets dark. Suddenly, a huge wild boar attacks him. Zan runs as fast as he can but trips and passes out. Sometime later, he wakes up to find Duma right next to him, and is shocked to see that the person who saved them was Rip. Exhausted, he falls back asleep. The next day, Zan apologizes to Rip for misjudging him, but Rip admits he was wrong and was actually planning to sell Duma. Rip then tells his story, explaining that he's from a tribe that lives in the jungle, but he left them a long time ago to find money in the city. His greed led him to commit a crime, and he went to prison. After he got out, he decided to live in the desert, hoping to find gold or diamonds to return to his family as a rich man. As they're talking, a gazelle appears. Zan tells Duma to hunt it, but Duma fails again. The next day, they find a group of people having a celebration with lots of food. Rip and Zan come up with a clever plan. Zan goes in pretending he's been bitten by a snake. When the people see the harmless snake, they panic and run, leaving everything behind. Rip and Zan grab all the food, take their boat, and escape. At that moment, Zan pulls out some money he had saved and gives it to Rip to thank him for his help. Rip refuses at first, but Zan insists. Then Rip surprises him by revealing he actually did find a diamond in the cave, and he gives it to Zan as a token of their friendship. When they get to shore, Duma finds a dead gazelle. When Zan gets close, he's shocked when Duma aggressively attacks him to keep him away from his food. That's when Zan realizes that his friend is, at the end of the day, a wild predator. At night, they rest in another cave. The next day, Rip tells Zan that his tribe's village is close. Suddenly, Rip sees a swarm of dangerous insects heading their way. He quickly runs and shields Zan with his body. The insects sting Rip all over, and by nightfall, his face and body are horribly swollen. Lions surround them. Rip, barely conscious, tells Zan to start a fire to scare them away, but then he passes out. Zan decides to go for help and sees a light in the distance. As the lions close in on Zan, Duma leads them away to protect him. Zan reaches the light and meets the tribe's leader, who agrees to help. The tribesmen go back with him and carry Rip to their village, where they start treating him with traditional herbs. At the same time, Duma hears the call of a female cheetah. He follows the sound and finds her, and they start playing together. Zan looks for Duma but can't find him, so he returns to the village, amazed by how the people live in harmony with the harsh nature around them. Hours later, Rip wakes up to find his tribe surrounding him. His mother comes and hugs him after so long. Rip decides to stay with them and never leave again, and he thanks Zan for saving his life. The next day, Zan goes out and calls for Duma. He spots him with the female cheetah, chasing a gazelle and successfully taking it down. In that moment, Zan knows that his friend has finally found his true home and his new family, and it's time to say goodbye. He remembers his father's words that Duma had to return to the wild to live his real life.
Duma sees his friend Zan and runs to him for one last playful moment. Zan is happy that he fulfilled his father's wish, but at the same time, he's incredibly sad to be leaving his only friend. Zan tells Duma he'll always remember him, then turns and walks away, crying. Rip watches them, then takes Zan to bring him back to his mother. A few days later, while Kristen is working on the farm, she's surprised to see Zan returning. She runs to him and gives him a huge hug.
As the days pass, we see Zan helping his mom on the farm. It's clear he'll never forget his friend Duma, who will always have a place in his heart and his memories. And that's where our movie ends. If you liked this recap, don't forget to support us with a like and subscribe to the channel to see more summaries. See you in the next video.